Art Camp Encounter. This happened way back in 2013 when I was a junior in college. It was our college organization's annual art camp. For a short description, we're all in the fine arts department, and our organization holds this art camp where there's seminars from professors and mentors, all in team building activities. It's usually set in recreational venues. Anyway, as I said earlier, I was a junior, and it was our year as the officers of the said organization, so we were the ones who chose the venue, planned the games, itineraries, and whatever else there may be. To give a brief description of the place, it's in a suburban area around Laguna in Philippines. It's a huge recreational area with hanging bridges leading to the campfire, pool area, and obstacle courses. In the middle of the venue, there's a huge open space function hall where the seminars were held. Our cabins were hidden by trees located far behind the hall. The first cabin was for the mentors and the professors. The second was for the girls in my year and co-officers. The third was for the sophomores and freshmen. The fourth was for the guys in my year and some freshmen. And the last two cabins were occupied by the higher year students. On the right side of the function hall, there's an outdoor lounge area with life-size chessboard games. If you walk straight further, there's the obstacle course area. Farther from that was the pool and the foresty area where the campfire and hanging bridge was located. This particular story was experienced by my classmates. It was already night, around 8 p.m. Our scheduled seminar was already finished, and everyone was done with their dinner. Some of the students were chilling in the patio of the cabin, some walking around, and us, the officers, we were busy with planning tomorrow's activities. The guys, we're gonna name them Gab, Wally, Kevin, Alan, and Hero, were just chatting and chilling inside their cabin. One of them decided to explore around. Hero told them to go and play at the chessboard area, so they decided to go out, except for one. Gab approached Frank, a freshman, who was dozing at the top bunk. He asked if he wanted to come with them, but Frank was sleepy and he said no to them, turning his back against them. Before leaving, Gab asked Frank if it was okay to borrow his slippers because he had none, and Frank signaled it was okay. So the five guys were heading out to the cabin, fooling around and laughing. They looked around and saw students slowly heading to each cabin to rest. They were almost a few yards away from the chessboard when Gab noticed someone was walking parallel to them. The guy was heading to the large old coconut tree adjacent to the chessboard area. He was confused and stopped walking. Wally, Kevin, Alan, and Hero noticed the guy walking as well. It was already dark around with minimal lights far from them. Gab tried to rub his eyes and recognized the guy walking. It was Frank. They all shouted, "Frank, come here!" Hero realized Frank stopped walking and turned to them. No expression at all. Alan was confused as well and asked if it was really Frank. Gab realized something creepy and faced the guys. How could it be Frank when I'm wearing his only slippers? He mumbled nervously. They all looked at the guy they were calling earlier and noticed it continued walking. And then suddenly, the guy disappeared behind the old coconut tree. The guys collectively gasped, ran, and shouted loudly back to their cabin. When they reached the door, Wally opened it, only to find Frank sleeping deeply with his headphones on. They woke him up, slapping him softly, and asked if he was okay or if he walked outside. Frank, rubbing his eyes open, said no confusedly. The five guys got so scared, so much, they tried to outrun each other heading back to our cabin to tell us what happened. I was so scared, but not actually surprised, since I felt creepy around the area during nighttime. It felt really strange and off. I've had my experiences the night before, but I wasn't sure if it was paranormal. I was the only one awake at that time, and it was 2 a.m., and I heard giggling around our cabin, like kids running around chasing each other. I also noticed silhouettes walking past our screen door, though I personally tried to dismiss it and think of it as some students who were still awake outside, but I wasn't able to sleep until 5 a.m. I believe that place has ghosts and elements in it, as per the recount of some of the students as well. You can easily tell if there's something creepy in a place just by the feeling it gives off, and this place certainly gave that feeling. Scary camping trip. Now to start this off, I'm a 29-year-old man, and 3 times a year I head up to the Georgia mountains to camp, fish, and just have a great time. But after last trip, I doubt I'll ever go up there again. I've been super excited the week before I was headed up to Georgia, and when the day finally came, I could have died with happiness. I loaded up my dog Buddy and all my gear and started the trip. About an hour into my trip, I saw a road that I've never been on before. I decided I would take an hour to look around and go back to the main road. I lost track of time, and before I knew it, the sun was setting. I grabbed my gear and Buddy, and we hiked about 10 minutes before finding a nice clearing in the forest. I set up camp and looked around my camp. I saw a small, man-made trail leading into the dark trees and decided that me and Buddy needed a walk. I grabbed my walking stick, Buddy's leash, and a headlamp, and we headed onto the trail. I knew something was wrong when I couldn't hear a single insect or animal. Me and Buddy stopped at a little creek when I saw something so terrifying. 2 eyes reflecting from my headlamp. This thing was really tall, like 6 or 7 feet, and the eyes were too big to be human. My dog is usually very protective of me, but instead of barking or doing something, he whimpered and peed on my leg. I'd never seen him act like this before. He'd seen bears before and has scared mountain lions away, but he's never peed like that. As Buddy kept whimpering, I felt terrible, like this thing hated me and it could rip me to shreds if it wanted to. Then it made the scariest noise I've ever heard. It sounded like a maniac screaming. Me and Buddy bolted back to our camp. In our camp, I could still hear the thing. Needless to say, I was. It was staying here. I packed up the camp as Buddy stood watch. We ran to my truck and we got out of there. I went straight home and I didn't sleep that whole night. Later on, I looked on the internet of what could have made that noise, and nothing really came close to it. I really don't know what that was, but there's something weird in the woods of Georgia. Being followed. Me, my parents, and my friend were camping at Tuckahoe State Park, and the last night we were staying there was very creepy. Me and my friend were hiking the trails all day, and we thought it would be a good idea to go to the lake to watch the sunset and talk about random things. There was a red car sitting in the parking lot near us, but we didn't see anyone around. This is important to know, by the way. It was almost dark out, so we decided to leave, but I had to go to the bathroom. When we got in the bathroom, there were no lights, so it was pitch black. I had to have my friend shine his flashlight through. I was washing my hands, and this strange alarm started to go off, so me and my friend ran out of there, kind of creeped out. When we did get out of the bathroom, it was dark, and we had to walk back into a 1-mile trail back to our campsite. When we walked in the woods, My friend swore she saw a person standing near the entrance of the path, watching us walk out onto the trail. The walk seemed so long and dreadful. I had the feeling someone, or maybe something, was watching us. Not even a few minutes on the trail, I heard fast-moving footsteps, and I started to see things out of the corners of my eyes. We decided to call my parents and tell them to hurry and come to the trail we were on. My friend's phone was about to die, and that was the only way we could have light. After what seemed like ages of having the feeling of someone watching you and following you, we saw flashlights and noticed it was my parents. We ran and started telling them everything we saw and heard, but they didn't believe us. Next day, we were packing up our things, and I looked over, and the same red car was just a few camping spots down from us. After that, I was ready to get out of there, just knowing that perhaps that same person was just a few spots down from me.